Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, and I'd like to call the May 8th, 2025 work session of the Staunton City Council to order. I will now entertain a motion to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas as presented.
Thank you, Councilor Overholzer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Mr. Kesker, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell. Aye. Vice Mayor Arrowwood. Aye. Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Kesker. Moving on to item 2, we have an overview of land use matters that come before City Council. Ms. Beauregard.
Sure. So Tim Hartless, our planning manager, will go through this evening. We thought it would be a good idea to just give city council some information and an overview. You all make a lot of decisions about land use.
Yes.
It's probably the most decisions you make, actually. So I thought Mr. Hartless could walk you through that. And then if there's anything else you'd like to focus on at a later date, we can certainly schedule a additional time to spend with you on these items.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Hartless. Thank you.
Thank you all for having us tonight. So we've put together a presentation that try to go over some of the things that I think you'll see. And I've tried to break them into 2 categories, the most frequent things you'll see and then things that you'll see less frequently. You may never see it at all. But so let's start with the most frequent items. Of course, these are special use permits, rezonings. I think you all have probably already had an opportunity to see both of those. You'll also see final plats, master plans, and then planned residential developments. Now, these are a little unique because they involve special use permits as well as master plans, but I'll explain more about those in a few moments. And then less frequently, you will see, you could see variances to the subdivision standard. Those are deviations from Title 17, which contains all of our subdivision requirements. You could also see an appeal of a minor subdivision plat. I don't think I recall one of those since I have been a planner. We may have done one about 20 years ago when I was a zoning inspector, but those are very infrequent. And then you could also be asked to review a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission or Planning Commission related to our interest corridors. And I'll talk more about both of those in a few moments as well. So a special use permit is a special approval given by City Council for a specific use on a specific property. And then within our zoning regulations for each district, there are lists of uses which are permitted. We also call those by right uses. And then there are a list of uses that are permitted on review. The uses permitted on review are the things that City Council is able to issue special use permits for. And then within the special use permit, you have the ability, you and Planning Commission, to create just about any reasonable condition that you think necessary in order for that use to be compatible with the surrounding area. Most, if not all of our special use permits have conditions. Sometimes it's only 1 or 2, sometimes it's a whole list. It all depends on the specific area where they request to locate and the specific use that they're requesting. And those conditions are always listed in the resolution that council adopts when it approves a special use permit. The next most common thing that you might come across at a meeting is a rezoning request. There are 2 types of rezoning requests. There are the standard rezonings, which is where an applicant requests to rezone their property from whatever its current zoning is to some other district, which is exist within the zoning code. There are also our conditional rezoning requests. A conditional rezoning is a request where an applicant has willingly volunteered to give up some of the uses within a specific district. Those are called proffers. Proffers have to come from the applicant. The city cannot impose conditions. We can only express concerns and then allow the applicant to propose some kind of proffer to try and address those concerns. So you'll see those on our zoning map. They're always listed usually with hashed lines, and it'll say R2C or R3C. That means that it's a conditional zoning, and there have been special proffers that were offered by the applicant, which city council approved. And each one of those conditional zonings has its own specific ordinance with its own specific regulations. So we have to, whenever we have a proposal for a use in those areas, we would have to go back and pull that ordinance, look at those special conditions to make sure that whatever use is requested falls within those conditions. Otherwise, they'll have to come back and request a rezoning to a new conditional zoning that would allow whatever that proposed use is.
Excuse me, Mr. Hartless, could you
Sure.
think of an example off the top of your head of, say, residential, a conditional zoning request in a residential? I'm sure we voted on them, but off the top of my head, having recently looked at the zoning map, I remember seeing, I guess when we were looking at honeybees that were all around.
Yeah, so you'll see some, I think McTanley Place is a professional
Okay.
conditional, which it has special setback requirements. The most recent conditional zoning that council has approved was at 300 Churchill Avenue.
Mhm.
The former Lee High School, which is
Yeah.
now called Gypsy Hill Place.
Mhm.
We rezoned that from B3 to B5 conditional. And the proffers that the applicant offered limited density and also excluded any development of the front field next to Churchill Avenue.
Thank you, that's great.
Certainly. Next, we'll talk about plats. There are three types of plats that we do here in Staunton. The first is the minor subdivision plat. That is completely an administrative review. And that involves plats that are boundary line adjustments, or perhaps one lot is being divided into two. It's usually it's very simple plats that we review administratively, and the subdivision agent will sign those plats to approve them. The second type of plat that you could see is a preliminary, well, actually, you won't see it. It's a preliminary plat, and that is a plat that is approved by the Planning Commission. Preliminary plat is kind of like it doesn't actually create any lots. It's a plan for how lots will be created in the future. And once Planning Commission approves that preliminary plat, then the applicant will come back with final plats for individual sections of the development, and you will see those final plats. Those final plats will start with a staff review. Then it will go to Planning Commission for a Planning Commission review, and then it would come to you with the commission's recommendation for your consideration for final approval. Master plans, those are things, you'll see those from time to time. They are most commonly associated with our planned residential developments. And a master plan is an overview of how a specific piece of property is planned to be developed. It will show create lot layout, street locations, water and sewer, entrance points. It could indicate landscaping, screening, all of the things that we would look for when we're reviewing and approving a special development. So like I said, typically we do this with planned residential developments. There are some other developments where we've done them, the villages. That's a good example of a development where we did a master plan. Most recently, you reviewed the master plan for Old South. That was a planned residential development.
Why wouldn't you
Those-
have a master plan for commercial development?
Typically, the master plan would be for a development where there will be multiple lots created and multiple uses. If it was a commercial site where we anticipated, multiple lots being created and mixed use, much like the villages, we would require a master plan for that. But for just a individual development of a commercial lot, we wouldn't require a master plan. We would do all that through the typical site plan process.
Tim, do we have active master plans in addition to the villages and Southview? Ones that aren't fully built out?
We do. In addition to those two, we have master plans for the Red Oaks residential development off of Frontier Drive, Bell Creek residential development off of Churchville Avenue. Those are the ones that come.
And
to
those were
mind.
both planned residential developments?
Yes. Yeah. The majority of our master plans are for our planned residential developments. So let me just explain a little bit more about what a planned residential development is. A planned residential development used to be pretty uncommon in Staunton, but I believe moving forward, we're going to see a lot of these. It is a special residential development which council approves through a special use permit. These planned residential developments have their own individual specific minimum lot size requirements, minimum setback requirements. They're required to provide open space and recreational amenities. And in exchange for that, they are permitted to cluster their development. And these are intended for sites that usually because of topography, it's very difficult to develop. Steep slopes. Sometimes it could be high elevations that are difficult for the city to provide public water. So we allow them to increase the density in the more easily developed areas. And in exchange, they hold the more difficult developed areas as their open space. And that's also where they provide their common area amenities. Those amenities could be trails, they could be picnic pavilions, they could be gazebos, athletic fields, some kind of community-oriented building like a clubhouse. They always require a special use permit. They are permitted in any residential district. We require a master plan. And if the development results in the creation of more than 50 lots, we require a preliminary plat. Staff will review these planned residential developments. It's pretty time consuming to review them because everything is specific to that development. And then we will schedule that for a planning commission meeting. The planning commission will review it and make a recommendation. And when it comes to you for your consideration, it will have all of the conditions that the developer proposes, as well as any conditions that city staff and planning commission have recommended. Once you approve the special use permit for the planned residential development, then the developer is free to begin the process of submission of their construction plans for the infrastructure and their final plats. And then you'll see a final plat come back to you for each section of the development. As I said before, the benefits of the planned residential development is that it gives the developer a lot of flexibility in dealing with challenging sites. It also allows the city the opportunity to establish some restrictions or conditions that are greater than what are part of the base zoning ordinance. And that's beneficial to the city on these sites that are challenging, that perhaps because of topography, they have greater potential for adverse effects from stormwater runoff, issues with water and sewer because of elevation. So it gives the city an opportunity to review each one of these individually and kind of address them on an individual basis. And it allows the land of development that may otherwise be undevelopable under the standard zoning code. There are some drawbacks to a planned residential development. The review process and approval process takes longer because there are more steps, because there's a special use permit requirement and a master plan requirement. For staff, they can be a bit of a headache because each one of them has its own individual lot requirements and setback requirements. So if a developer or someone comes in and asks questions, it's more difficult. We have to go back and research it, pull the master plan, pull the conditions of the special use permit. If it was a standard zoning district, someone comes in, talks to either me or to the zoning administrator. We know the R2 and R3 regulations. We can answer the questions right away. But with these PRDs, sometimes it takes a little bit of research and a little bit of extra time before we can get back to the applicant. And it also requires a homeowners association. There has to be some entity to own and maintain these common areas and these common amenities. So moving on to the things that you'll see less frequently, variance to the subdivision standards. This is something that we do once or twice every few years. The most common request are a reduction to the street width requirements. Our subdivision ordinance requires residential streets to be a 40-foot right-of-way, which includes a 30-foot wide street. Sometimes we'll get a request from an applicant who feels like a 30-foot wide street is more than they need. An example that comes to mind is Red Oaks. They have a variance to the standard, which allows them to have 24-foot wide streets. And in exchange for the more narrow street, they limit or just outright prohibit parking on the street. You'll also possibly see a request to waive the sidewalk requirement. Typically would see applicants interested in this if they were developing in a neighborhood that didn't have sidewalks. But if they were going to submit a final plat and they were going to create new lots, our subdivision ordinance requires them to build a sidewalk. So they could request a variance to the subdivision standard, and if council saw fit, they could approve that and give them relief from that requirement. You could also see a request to create a pipe stem lot. We had one of these come up a few years ago on National Avenue. Our zoning code requires that every lot have 30 feet of frontage on the public street. And our subdivision ordinance says that lots shall not be peculiarly shaped or have elongated portions specifically intended to obtain the required street frontage. So sometimes you'll have a situation like the one on National. It was a narrow lot, but it was very deep. And it was a much larger lot than someone would typically need for a single family home. So the owner wanted to create a lot in the rear of the property with a pipe stem to give them access to National Avenue so that they could sell it for construction of another single family home.
Mr. Hartless, what is a pipe stem?
The pipe stem is some people call them flagpole lots.
Mhm.
It's the long skinny portion of the lot that comes out to the public street.
I see. Okay,
Spring Hill Road
Spring
has
Hill
a
Road.
lot of them.
I
Yes,
see.
Spring Hill Road, Spring Hill Farms is full of pipe stem lots.
Got it. Thank you.
Another item that might come before you is an appeal of a decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. The city does not have experts in historic architecture on staff. So we contract with Historic Stanton Foundation to provide technical services. So Historic Stanton Foundation will review all of our applications for certificates of appropriateness, and they will give a recommendation to the Historic Preservation Commission. That recommendation is based on the city's historic district guidelines, as well as the Secretary of the Interior's, let me make sure I give you the right title. I don't want to mess it up. The Secretary of the Interior Standards for Treatment of Historic Buildings. We usually just refer to them as the Secretary's Standards. And the commission will then review the application and Historic Stanton's recommendation, and they will make a decision on that certificate of appropriateness. The certificate of appropriateness is required anytime someone makes a change to the exterior appearance of a property in a historic district. Any decision that the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission, makes can be appealed to City Council. And when that appeal comes before you, you have the option to uphold the Historic Preservation Commission's decision, to uphold it, but modify some of the conditions, or you could overturn the commission's decision. The commission made that decision based upon the design standards and the secretary's standards. So when that decision comes before you, we would ask that you not overturn it unless you see a compelling reason to do so. Or perhaps there's additional information that the commission wasn't privy to. But generally, by the time the commission has made that decision, that application has been reviewed by Historic Stanton Foundation as well as the commission. And it has been very thoroughly picked through by that point. This one, a review or an appeal of a planning commission's decision on the entrance corridor. I think we've had 3 of these since the corridor regulations were established in 2008. Our entrance corridor regulations include our entrance corridor ordinance, which is part of the zoning code. And it also includes design guidelines for those corridors. The way that it is intended to work is that staff and the applicant discuss design elements for each project. And there's some give and take, some back and forth until we come to a mutual decision about those design elements. If for some reason staff and the applicant are not able to reach a mutually agreeable decision, the ordinance says that those items will go to the planning commission for its review. Any decision that the planning commission makes is appealable to city council. So when those items come before you in our briefing, you'll have a description of the process that staff and the applicant went through, as well as what happened at the planning commission meeting. The planning commission's decision will be based on the design guidelines, and you'll be asked to either uphold the planning commission's decision or to overturn the commission's decision. And much like with the historic certificates of appropriateness, if you're going to overturn the planning commission and deviate from the guidelines, it should be for some kind of substantial reason. There should be reasoning behind it. So that's all that I had prepared to discuss tonight. I'm happy to take any questions that you have. If there are particular things that we've talked about that you'd like to discuss in more detail, we're happy to come back at a future meeting and give a more detailed presentation.
Any questions from councilors? You finished with 5 minutes in excess, so.
I was worried I wasn't. gonna
No,
have
you
enough
did a great
time.
job, Mr. Hartless. Counselor Overholter.
So the reason I asked about the master plan, it seems like it's a useful device that includes specific checkpoints for the developer to make sure that they met conditions. And that's why I wondered why it wasn't applicable to other kinds of developments too. It seems like it's a useful checklist for the city to make sure that there's conformity to requirements.
They are very useful, and that's why we require them for the planned residential developments, because those developments are typically
More complex.
so complex and so different from every other development that the master plan is very helpful. But for by right developments that or all the uses comply with the zoning code, all the minimum lot sizes and setbacks would comply with the zoning code, a master plan really doesn't offer a lot of benefit in those cases.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, Mr. Hartless. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. That's a
Absolutely.
great presentation. All righty, we are moving on to item 3, a presentation on progress of the city's comprehensive plan. An update, Ms. Beauregard.
So this is a good, Mr. Hartless's presentation is a good segue into this
Yeah.
presentation, which is an update on our comprehensive plan update, which I don't even know how many months through. I'll let
Yeah.
Miggy talk about that, but Miggy Roche is here. She's our newest, she's a new staff member. I don't think she's presented to council before.
No,
I have not.
in fact, I haven't
So
met
this
you,
is
Ms. Roche.
her-
It's nice to see you.
Nice to
Very nice to
Inaugural
meet you.
event,
Mhm.
but I'm pleased to report out the progress of the plan so far, and I'm gonna
Perfect.
let Miggy take it away.
Mhm. Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here today to provide an update on the city's comprehensive plan 2045. This is a project that will guide Staunton's growth and development for the next 20 years. So this is a crucial initiative that will shape the future of our wonderful city here. It influences everything from housing and transportation to economic development, and also how to preserve and enhance Staunton's unique character and our identity. So the city brought on EPRPC as the consultant in August 2024, and since then, we've been working diligently to gather community input and lay the groundwork for the plan. Oh, I need to. Okay, got that working. So to kick off the public engagement process, we held an open house on January 22nd at Staunton High School. As you can see from the photos there, we had an amazing turnout. There were over 125 residents. And I will also just say this event was on the coldest night of the year, so we were extra impressed to have that turnout. The open house featured informational posters, interactive stations, and had opportunities for residents to talk directly with staff and the volunteers. Okay, so the open house was structured around 3 main stations. Station 1 focused on raising awareness about the comprehensive plan. So we presented information on the plan's purpose, goals, and the city's demographics. As you can see on the map there, when we asked people where they live and work, we saw strong participation from the downtown area, as well as the northern and western parts of the city. So this helped us understand who is participating in the process and also who we need to work a little harder to reach. We also asked people how they heard about the open house, and email and social media were the top ways. So that's good to know. Then at Station 2, we had attendees identify this, oops, I need to change. Okay. At Station 2, we had attendees identify the strengths and challenges related to the 11 key elements on the comprehensive plan, and those 11 key elements is what's listed on the slide. So this input was really critical to understand the community's priorities. Then at Station 3, there was a goal-setting exercise where people were asked to share ideas and aspirations for the future of Staunton. The attendees tended to focus on topics like open space, transportation, community character, economic development, and housing. The ideas generated here will directly inform the plan's goals and objectives. Okay. And then for additional engagement, we also used a tool called Social Pinpoint to gather feedback through an online mapping survey. The survey allowed residents to identify specific locations on a map and provide comments in 3 categories. So it was either a big idea, a favorite thing, or a problem that needs fixing. The survey was live for several weeks, and we received a total of 258 comments from 55 people. So the next 3
Is there a
slides.
legend for the color coding on the map there? Some significance to the color of the items?
Oh, yes. Let me see. Well, so sort of. So the green, I believe, is the favorite things. The red with the little arrow is, or sorry, the exclamation point is the problem that needs fixing, and then the orange is the big idea. But it's a little misleading when you just look at that picture on the slide because it's so zoomed out that a lot of the areas where there might have been a bunch of comments clustered together, you only see one circle. So that visual on that slide honestly is not the best representation. But going on to these, the next 3 slides summarize the comments that we received for each key element of the plan. I'm not going to go through and read each one in detail just for the sake of time, but I definitely recommend you go through and read all of them, and there's some really great info in there. I will just go through and highlight a few key trends though. So transportation received the highest number of comments, indicating that this is a major area of focus for the community. Residents want to see better sidewalks, bike lanes, and solutions to traffic issues. Recreation also received a lot of feedback, with people expressing appreciation for the city's parks and suggesting ways to enhance them with more trails, facilities, and amenities. We also heard a lot about the need to balance economic development with the preservation of Staunton's unique character. Just moving on through these. I will also say that public infrastructure, usually there are 15 comments. There was a lot of crossover between transportation and public infrastructure. So there's probably a few of the comments in transportation that could also be considered infrastructure, especially sidewalks and roadway concerns. So moving on to the stakeholder meetings, this was another important component of our outreach. We met with 10 different stakeholder groups representing a wide range of interests and perspectives, including economic development, housing, transportation, education, and more. The complete list of stakeholders is on the slide there. It should look a little familiar. It's the same list as the key elements of the comprehensive plan. So basically, we had one stakeholder group meeting for each topic, the only difference being that infrastructure and transportation were combined for the meetings because of all of that crossover and for scheduling. So these meetings allowed for more in-depth discussion about the specific challenges and opportunities we face in Staunton. So some of the key themes that came out of the stakeholder meetings. First, we heard a lot about infrastructure and development challenges. Many groups emphasized the need to address aging infrastructure, manage development pressures, and plan strategically for growth. Second, community engagement and equity was also a reoccurring theme. There's a strong desire to ensure that all residents have a voice in the planning process and that we're promoting access to those resources. Third, stakeholders spoke about economic sustainability and growth. The challenge here is to support local businesses, attract tourism, and create jobs while preserving Staunton's character and quality of life. Finally, resource management and collaboration was seen as essential. Groups emphasized the need to maximize limited resources, foster partnerships, and coordinate these efforts across all different sectors. All right, going even further with our public engagement. So to further engage with our residents and gather input in a more informal setting, staff attended several public intercept events in April. So these events allowed us to connect with people where they already were, making it convenient for them to participate. So on April 5th, I set up a booth at the farmers market along with some members from our steering committee, and we had the opportunity to speak with approximately 80 people. And this was a great way to reach a broad cross-section of the community, so not just typically who comes to our open house events. We also participated in Earth Day celebrations on April 26th. Rebecca had a chance to engage with families and individuals who were particularly interested in environmental issues because it was an Earth Day event, but that is still a key part of the comprehensive plan. And then finally, Rodney attended Building Bridges for the Greater Good's Breaking Bread event on April 26th. And this event focuses on bringing different parts of the community together, which also aligns with the plan's goal. So overall, these public intercepts were invaluable for having meaningful one-on-one conversations with residents and gaining a deeper understanding of their concerns and priorities. So what's next? This slide just provides an overview of the remaining steps in the comprehensive plan process. We recently wrapped up task 3, which is gathering and analyzing data, and we are now beginning task 4, identifying community needs. Although I will say, just because we're technically through with task 3, gathering and analyzing data is kind of something that goes on throughout the whole process. But the formal part of that has been wrapped up. And all of the input we've gathered through the open house, the social pinpoint survey, and the stakeholder meetings will be used to inform this next phase of the project, where we will be crafting a vision and goals for Staunton's future. And lastly, I want to make you all aware of our next major public engagement event. We are hosting a community workshop on Wednesday, June 25th at Staunton High School. We encourage everyone to attend this workshop, so please put it on your calendar. This is a great opportunity to shape the future of Staunton, and we will be diving deeper into the issues and opportunities we've identified, and we'll be working with residents to develop those goals and visions for the future. So just to conclude, this is a really exciting and important time for Staunton. This comprehensive plan will provide a roadmap for the city's future, and we are committed to ensuring that it reflects the values and aspirations of all of our residents. But we value your input and guidance as we move forward in the process. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Will this community workshop, will it kind of present the summary of the outcome of the data collection and some of the draft goals and objectives?
I'm not totally sure on the format we'll be sharing that, but that will definitely be part of the experience.
And then how many times do we plan to go back to the stakeholder teams?
So we are actually about to send out our next round of stakeholder surveys, and then I believe there will be at least one more later on.
Any other questions for Ms. Roche? Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing more.
Mhm.
Appreciate your hard work on
Yep.
this.
Of course.
Let me get this in my calendar. All righty, well, moving to item 4, presentation on development of Staunton's flood resiliency plan. Ms. Beauregard.
So Willow Hughes, our environmental programs administrator, is here this evening to talk about this plan. The city of Staunton has never had one, so this will be our first one. And she's gonna talk, I believe, about the benefits of having such a plan and what the process will be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Hughes.
So I'll start a little bit with a background on what a flood resiliency plan is. So these plans work to provide a sort of holistic look at the flooding issues a community faces. They then provide guidance on improving that community's overall response and preparedness for flooding. So we are currently working with Wiley Wilson and their subcontractor WSSI to get started on our plan. And if I quote their scope of work for us directly, it will aid in the identification of flood-prone areas and establish a prioritization of needs. The focus of the project will be to develop a plan framework document for future efforts related to repetitive flooding, flood preparedness, and flood resiliency. So ultimately, this plan will give us a better idea of what sort of flooding threats the city as a whole faces. It will also then give us a list of certain projects or studies that would be best for the city to pursue. I did want to make a note, this differs from the flood study that was done a couple years ago after the 2020 floods. That one focused on engineering solutions to flooding for the flooding that specifically occurred in the wharf. And unfortunately, most of those projects were deemed not really feasible. This study looks at the whole city, all the flooding issues faced throughout. And it will maybe suggest engineered solutions, but it will also suggest maybe things like increased educational awareness or improvements to our curtain alert system. It will focus on things that aren't necessarily engineered projects. We don't yet know which projects will be identified, but they will be the best and most feasible projects for us going forward. So the consultant will work directly with a steering committee of city staff who will aid in the creation of this plan. Right now, we are currently identifying what staff will be on that steering committee. That's kind of the phase we're in right now. And then in addition to the steering committee, this plan will also involve getting input from citizens, and we'll have community events both in person and online, as well as probably using surveys and social media to reach the larger population. We are hoping to move very quickly on this plan, so we do hope to have the first community event in mid-June. I will also add, this plan is a requirement for certain grants. They require that a locality has a flood resiliency plan adopted. And that's kind of the driving force on why we're trying to move so quickly, is because it could open up grants, particularly for the wharf, but other projects as well. So the last little bit of information I have for you all is that we are hoping to get started next week, meeting in small groups and then forming the steering committee. And then the ultimate hope is that this project will be done in about 9 months. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions you all may have about this.
Just thinking that the approach that the comprehensive plan takes, that part of that consultation process is the use of stakeholder groups. And that I think certainly the Lewis Creek Watershed Advisory Committee would be an appropriate stakeholder group to specifically consult with.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. And I think that will be part of the first steps as well, is identifying key stakeholders. I know when we did our implementation of the flood alert sensors, we consulted a lot with business owners for the wharf as they were directly impacted. So I think that would be another one we'd look into.
Any other questions for Ms. Hughes? Well, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Willow. This
guys.
was terrific. Look forward to it.
Thank
Mhm. All righty, well, we are moving on to item 5. Item 6. Am I missing something? I didn't miss anything. Comprehensive plan had a closed meeting. We are moving on to item 6, our final work session item, a closed meeting for the discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose located on Churchville Avenue. Number 2, consultation with legal counsel for legal advice related to stream buffers. Number 3, discussion or consideration of the disposition of publicly held real property on A Street. And 4, consultation with legal counsel for legal advice related to a boundary adjustment. I will now entertain a motion to enter a closed meeting.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Woods.
seems to be all quiet on this
I
one.
know, Counselor Woods, speak up. You got it.
I move to enter a closed meeting for the discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property located on Churchville Avenue for a public purpose where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3. 2, the discussion or consideration of the disposition of real property located on A Street for a public purpose where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3. And 3, for consultation with legal counsel from the city attorney for legal advice related to stream buffers and a boundary line adjustment pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All righty, Mr. Kesker, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Kesker. Thank you all very much. We look forward to you coming back at 7 o'clock. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to reconvene in an open meeting. Counselor Woods.
I move that council reconvene in open meeting and certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only lawfully exempted public business matters were discussed and that only public business matters as identified in the closed meeting motion were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Is there a second?
A second.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Kesker, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The work session is now adjourned. It is now 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call the May 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Staunton City Council to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Tonight's invocation is coming to us from Counselor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor Edwards. This afternoon, we had our annual city council visit to Betsy Bell and Mary Gray Park. On our city Parks and Rec website, there's a brief history of the property with the original 50 acres being donated to the city in 1941 by Charles Catlett. With the donation, Mr. Catlett specified that the city of Staunton shall, as far as is reasonably practical and in consideration opinions advisable, and for the common benefit of its citizens and inhabitants, keep and maintain the crest of the mountain as a perpetual memorial of events in the past life of the community and in memory of its citizens who have given their lives in protecting the nation. Catlett further specified that the site be maintained in its natural state, that a cross cut out of the woods along the crest be maintained, and that City Council visit the crest of Betsy Bell once each spring in remembrance of the gift. These requirements have been honored since the bequest. So with today's visit to such a unique natural asset within Staunton and my personal lifelong love of the outdoors, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on how fortunate we are as a community for our numerous avenues to outdoor recreation and access to nature and the benefits of these opportunities. Between our amazing parks and recreational opportunities, to those of our neighboring communities and to our surrounding federal park and forest lands, we have something for everyone to enjoy the outdoors within a short walk, bike ride, or drive. Study after study shows the benefits of being outdoors and in nature, from improving physical health, reducing stress and anxiety, emotional well-being, increasing social interaction, and overall quality of life. Access to the outdoors is a core function of a healthy community. So with the arrival of spring's warm weather, I would just like to encourage everyone to take advantage of these opportunities to find time in our busy lives to get outdoors for a breath of fresh air. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Campbell. That was lovely. Well, tonight we have two special honors to bestow, and our first one will be given by Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Okay.
You will be reading our first proclamation.
Sure. Now, this is Building Safety Month, May here, and we have many members of our Building Safety Division and Building Inspection here. So Whereas Stanton is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas modern building codes and standards include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month recognizes the critical role of our city's code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local, state, tribal, territorial, and federal building safety and fire prevention departments in protecting lives and property. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Staunton City Council hereby recognizes the month of May 2025 as Building Safety Month. City of Staunton, we encourage our citizens to join in celebrating people who keep our buildings safe. Now, we have John Glover here and multiple members of that. John, would you like to come up?
Well, thank you, Councilor Arrowwood, for reading the proclamation, and fellow council members, thank you for recognizing this. I brought my whole staff with me. I'm very pleased to get to do this. They don't get to do this very often, so I'm very pleased to be able to do this. And I'm going to move around here.
Yeah, are you going to introduce them for
Have
us?
holes in my way. Okay. Stayed up when I call you. David Smithgall, he's a deputy building official.
Mhm.
Mark Wade, building and electrical inspector. Boyd Oddie, plumbing and mechanical inspector. And Mary Tyler, who's our property maintenance inspector.
All right, thank you all so much. Thank you. It's an honor to be able to be with you all tonight, keeping us safe.
I think everybody needs to come up here for.
Oh, everyone is going to
pictures.
come up. All those guys and
I don't know
Brad.
if Mr. John told you, but that's the rule.
That is the rule. There are a lot of people there. I always run into Dave in the elevator. That's like it's just, the door's open and there he is.
There he is, right?
Let me get my water out of the way.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, really.
Just want to stand up.
Oh, well,
Behind.
he's got the, only Corey is in. He's.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Arrowwood. You may have noticed that I have a little bit of a scratch in my throat. I'm getting over bronchitis, so thank you all for all of your help this evening. You may have noticed there are some wonderful people in our audience wearing these funny hats. So what is this? They're just lovely. It's beautiful to see you all visiting tonight. We have a special guest. We have General Jurek here this evening. She's the director of the VWIL program over at Mary Baldwin. Very happy to have her in our audience this evening. We are going to have a special recognition this evening, and I'm going to, Colonel Patrick is going to help to give this recognition, but Councilor Woods and I are going to come to the floor. And before we do the recognition, I'll ask Colonel Patrick to come up. Thank you all for coming. They're not fun hats, they're gorgeous hats.
Making her way.
Tonight it is my privilege to present a very special recognition, an honor that we on City Council, with thanks to our Clerk of Council, are unofficially referring to as the Spirit of Staunton. The Spirit of Staunton is our way of shining a light on individuals and organizations that go above and beyond, who invest in our people, our neighborhoods, and the heart of Staunton to make it what we call home. Tonight, we are proud to present this honor to someone who embodies that spirit in every way, Colonel Melissa Patrick.
Hi.
Colonel Patrick's life is nothing short of extraordinary. Colonel Patrick's family moved to Staunton when she was 10 years old. She grew up and chose to stay local, attending Mary Baldwin for college. After her academic career, she dedicated 28 years to the military as military intelligence officer, which included a pivotal role as NATO's chief of intelligence in Afghanistan in 2005. I've heard a rumor, correct me if I'm wrong, that Colonel Patrick and John Patton here. That is correct. But what's even more striking and more impressive than her military service is how she's continued to serve her community here in Staunton ever since. In 2012, she became the deputy commandant of the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership, where she not only led with wisdom and integrity, but also as a generous benefactor, opening doors for young women and future leaders. Her commitment to preserving and sharing our local history is just as impactful. In 2018, my husband and I had the chance to attend one of your lectures. It was on local African-American military history in World War I. And I was just completely impressed at the depth of her passion and the level of her research, honoring folks who had gone unobserved, unnoticed, and unrecognized. And later, I also learned that she has been doing research on World War II veterans, African World War II. And since that time, she has co-created a database of over 400 African Americans who served in World War I and over 800 African Americans who served in World War II. And I think that was fabulous. Writing about them, she lectures on these stories, and she keeps these stories alive and relevant. And during the most difficult time of recent history, the isolation of COVID-19, and all the better, Colonel Patrick and her sister Pamela launched Word Tribe, delivering cheer to nearly 1,000 senior citizens living in Staunton. These are heartfelt reminders to our elders that they were seen and remembered. As VFW district commander, she also helped organize Veterans Day drive-by parade, starting on Veterans Day and then again growing to include 4th of July. Her service, both in uniform and right here in Staunton, reflects the very best of what it means to care for others. Her leadership, her generosity, and her unwavering commitment to honoring history and community is exactly what the spirit of Staunton is all about. Councilwoman Wood, will you please read? Present this to Colonel
Melissa Patrick. I get the honor, along with my fellow city councilmen and the city of Staunton, Virginia, certificate of recognition presented to Colonel Melissa Patrick and honor her exceptional dedication, generosity, and commitment to the Staunton community. She embodies the true spirit of Staunton, a spirit defined by service, kindness, perseverance, and pride in our shared home. Her actions have strengthened our city, inspired our neighbors, and upheld the values that make us Staunton a special place to live. Thank you so much for this day. We honor you. Thank you so much. Today actually was supposed to be a surprise. She didn't know, but I think you found out.
I did a little bit.
That it's the cover stories didn't work that
We lied very, very well together.
You did better than my commander.
Maybe I have more practice lying. We have your whole VW. Oh, I'm sorry. Commander Belson, you have something that you would like to also say.
Yes, I did.
You got it.
Don't go away, Melissa. I was gonna start out with oh, thanks.
We all need those these days, don't we, Jeff?
Yeah, I was gonna start out with a joke about how I was gonna requesting a zoning variance in my backyard to have a giraffe pet zoo. But I'm Jeff Batson. I'm the VF Post 7814 commander over on North Augusta Street. I am commander because Melissa rigged the vote and made me do it. I retaliate by making RV Navy jokes that hopefully annoy her. However, I'm honored to count Melissa as a mentor and friend. She is the same to all these people. All the VFW and VFW auxiliary members in this chamber and other VFW members and veterans throughout the Shenandoah Valley. She is too humble for me to discover her entire military service history. I had to take a photo of her in uniform just to know her medals. I have asked a few times, and she replies with one-word answers like no or yes, or just ignores me. However, I can tell you this. There are 1.5 million active duty soldiers, which does not include reserves, National Guard. About 90,000 active duty are officers. And by regulation, only 2% of those are colonels, or about 1,800. Melissa was a colonel and maintains that rank as retired. She has numerous awards and medals, the highest being the revered Legion of Merit. But I'm sure she's most proud of her master parachute badge. Over 65, I think it's 67, jumps out of a perfectly good airplane. Over 28 years in the Army, she served 11 years in Germany, 2 tours to Korea, was deployed twice to Bosnia and once to Afghanistan. She was branched in Army intelligence, but even I cannot make the oxymoron Army intelligence jokes when it concerns her. She's a bachelor graduate of Mary Baldwin, has 2 master's degrees from Duke and the Army War College. Her combat experience is significant, yet I know Melissa well enough that she missed Staunton while serving our country in harm's way. More than probably everyone here or listening today. I'm sorry. Colonel Patrick had my position as commander of VFW Post Thomas Fields, 7814. Our post was founded and named after Staunton African-American war heroes in 1946. For those of you who know of Melissa, you know she has a passion for Staunton African-American veterans and their history. Luckily for me and our post, she currently serves as quartermaster, which is the position that does all the work. More significantly, she's our VFW District 11 commander with numerous posts in the Shenandoah Valley under her supervision, including ours. She is also primarily responsible for the VFW District Bicycle Race fundraiser each autumn that routinely raises over $35,000 each year. The entire amount is donated to
Boulder Crest in Bluemont, which is a residential facility assisting veterans and their families with PTSD. Her personal financial support everywhere is significant, but we do not talk about that. I do not think it is hyperbole to say that our post in District 11 may not exist today without Melissa. I also know that many veterans in our community would not be alive and thriving today without Melissa. It's my honor to make these incomplete remarks about Melissa on behalf of the many veterans in our community that she has served. She is truly an amazing person in so many ways. And of course, a longtime citizen of Staunton. Thank you.
Please say whatever you'd like. And I'll do my best to keep it real short. I did not come prepared to make any remarks, but I just want to say how deeply humbled I am by this recognition. You said all these wonderful things about me, you know, and sort of took me aback. So I thank you very much. I don't feel I'm worthy or deserving of this, but I really do appreciate your taking the time to do this recognition. I don't do any of the things that I do by myself. I am so happy that I live here in Staunton. It's a wonderful, great community, and it is a community that supports its veteran population and its military personnel. And so I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And the things that we do and that we accomplish, we do it together. This little VFW post, 7814, the Thomas Fields post, is a great little post. Yes. So it's not the only VFW post in Staunton, and we have other veterans organizations as well, and they're all great and so forth, but we're better. And so I thank all of you for coming out and being here to support me. And thank you for the kind words Jeff, and General Jurek for being here as well, representing V-Will and Mary Baldwin, and I appreciate that as well. I am indeed a very proud alum of Mary Baldwin as well. So thank you so much. Thank you. Meet some pictures. Like I said, we do everything together, right? Come on. All right. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you as always. It's always.
I know you were.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. It's so good to be here. Hi, I'm Michelle.
Yeah, I did good.
Nice to see you. Hi, I'm Michelle. So good to see you. Take pictures. Come on, Frank. All right, Frank, get in line. All right, I'll go to the unofficial. Frank is always.
All right, I'm gonna need a little squeeze.
Yeah, a little squeeze. And we like
All
each other.
right, there we go.
Well, now you're blocking.
All right, 1, 2, 3. And we'll do one more, 1, 2. Sorry, I'm losing you a little bit. 1, 2, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Nice.
Alrighty, so the rest of the meeting is gonna go really quickly, so we can meet them at Latin Soul and a veteran-owned restaurant in downtown Stanton, which is where we're going to celebrate.
Great speech.
You're welcome. That's what I'm making questions they ask.
No pressure anyway.
It's been so wonderful to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you guys are the best. Thanks so much, so much.
You were saving your voice for it.
Jeff already left.
Well, that is going to be hard to beat, so I'm not even going to try. Are there any additional items from members of council? Yes, Counselor Woods, do you have a nominations report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The nominations committee met on April 29th, 2025, and would like to make the following motion to appoint Susie Dull to the Economic Development Authority to fill the unexpired term of Betty Jordan, expiring 1/31/26. To appoint Dylan Maybe to the Library Advisory Board for a 4-year term beginning May 1st, 2025, and ending April 30th, 2029. To appoint Aaron Barmer to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning May 1st, 2025, and ending April 30th, 2027. To reappoint Michelle Davis to the Tourism Advisory Board for a 3-year term beginning May 1st, 2025, and ending April 30th, 2028.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? That does not require a second. Mr. Kessinger, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor Woods. Any other additional council items?
Just one,
Yes, sir.
several of us were at the library, the groundbreaking for the new outdoor auditorium. It was, they're starting to move on that. It's going to be just a great setup out there, just to the, if you're looking at the front of the library, it's off to the right on that hill there. It's definitely worth going by and taking a look at their plans for that. It's going to be just a great place for events and everything. Well shaded too with that dramatic system.
Hopefully completed by the end of the summer. Fingers crossed. All righty. Oh, sorry, go right ahead.
I'll just
Sorry.
also add that the weekend before last, several of us were able to attend the Building Bridges Breaking Bread event as well. Great turnout, great conversations. Always enjoy that event. And I'll just remind everyone that this Saturday is Stamp Out Hunger food drive, letter carriers food drive. So make sure you put out your non-perishable food items by your mailbox Saturday morning, and they'll be picked up.
You should have had a blue plastic bag there, right?
And for anyone in the audience that don't have a bag already, we have some bags over there where the agendas is
Right.
on the table.
Perfect. Thank you.
Spotted those.
All righty.
One other thing, just
Counselor Overholser.
filling in the gap, attended those events, but some others that there's sort of a common theme to. Earth Day was also on that last Saturday, attended that, and just really proud of our community organizations that support the environment, that gave out trees, that just are good stewards of the natural environment in Stanton. And there's an opportunity coming up, and people can sign up for, which is Clean the Bay Day on June 7th. And you can sign up by emailing C as in Tom, B as in boy, D as in David @cbf.org. Or you could see me afterwards or check with our city staff about how to do that. That's a chance for people to come to the park, to different waterways and clean up our waterways and help keep our city beautiful.
Thank you, Counselor Overholzer. I'm sorry. It's my bronchitis. So moving on to item A, the consent agenda. Per procedure memorandum number 14, it is the policy of City Council to have routine, non-controversial items placed on a consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. If separate discussion of an item is requested by any member of council, that item shall be removed and considered separately at the end of the regular meeting agenda. Do any council members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda to be placed at the end of the regular meeting agenda for separate consideration? No. Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mr. Cassicker, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Cassicker. Moving on to item B, we have a public hearing and consideration of a request by Sarah Geary for a special use permit to operate a school at 224 Taylor Street under the provisions of Staunton City Code, Section 18.20.0302. Ms. Beauregard.
Tim Hartless, our planning manager, will walk through this item this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Mr. Hart, it's good to see you.
This is a request by Sarah Geary for a special use permit to operate a private elementary school at 224 Taylor Street. This is the location of Memorial Baptist Church. Property is located near the intersection with North Coulter Street, across the street from Staunton High School and adjacent to McSwain Elementary School. It is zoned R1 low density residential, and churches as well as schools are permitted only through the special use permit process. Current use of the property, as I said, is Memorial Baptist Church, and that will not change. The applicant has obtained permission from the church to use approximately 3,250 square feet of area in their Sunday school space. The portion of the building will continue to also be used by the church. Churches are permitted in the R1 zoning districts by special use permit, and Memorial Baptist Church does have a current special use permit to operate at this location. However, the new use, the proposed school, is not part of the church's ministry, so it has to be considered to be a separate use and must have its own separate special use permit. The applicant proposes the school to operate in a single-room schoolhouse model. Initially, they proposed 2 staff and 12 students. Staff has conducted a parking analysis. There are several parking calculations we could have chosen, but the one we used requires parking for staff as well as student pickup and drop-off spaces. When we conducted this analysis based on 12 students and 2 staff, there were 4 parking spaces required. The church currently has approximately 198 parking spaces. So even if the school does grow and adds more students and staff, there is no concern for parking for this proposed use. In your packet, there is a map that illustrates the surrounding zoning. All of the zoning is R1 low density residential. The uses surrounding include 2 public schools, a church, and a number of single-family homes. Staff does support the request. We did identify a concern. We believe that there should be a condition on the special use permit that caps the total number of students and staff. We relayed that concern to the applicant. They have proposed 100 as the cap. City staff believe that number was too high and that there should be a requirement for a special use permit review and a new special use permit issuance. And we believe 50 is a more appropriate number. The city's comprehensive plan designates this area as low-density residential. The proposed use is not consistent with that designation. However, there's already 2 schools in the nearby area. Same property is used already as a church. It's on the located on the edge of the residential neighborhood,
Mm.
close to the intersection with US 11. And staff believes that this property could be used as a school without creating any conflict with the surrounding uses. Planning Commission considered the matter at its April 17th meeting. They considered staff's proposal for a cap at 50 persons, as well as the applicant's request for that cap to be 100 persons. After consideration, Planning Commission decided to recommend to you a cap at 50. The commission also considered a concern that they had related to student drop-offs and pickups. Currently, parents at McSwain Elementary School use the parking lot, the church's parking lot on the west side of the church, which is closest to McSwain, for student drop-off and pickup there at McSwain Elementary. There was some concern that if Ms. Geary used that same area, there could be some conflict. So the Planning Commission is proposing a condition that requires the new school to use the east parking lot, which is on the opposite side of the church, closer to the residential neighborhood and further away from McSwain Elementary School. Planning Commission conducted a public hearing at its April 17th, 2025 meeting. No one spoke in opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on a 3-0 vote with 2 conditions. The first condition, if the school use expands to exceed 50 students and staff, a new special use permit will be required. And the second condition states that student drop-offs and pickups must be done using the entrance off of Taylor Street that is furthest from North Coulter Street. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Our applicant, Ms. Geary, is also here. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for her.
Ms. Geary, do you have anything you would like to say? Would you like to say anything tonight? Come on. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. Good
You can
evening.
pull it down if
Mayor.
you'd like, yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. Thank you. My name's Sarah Geary, and my husband and I are the ones who are launching this small non-traditional school. There's not any other school like it in this area. It's called Acton Academy Blue Ridge, and our focus is on entrepreneurship, creativity, and free thinking. The closest Acton Academy is actually in Richmond, which is 2 hours away. So we're looking forward to the prospect of offering this sort of school arrangement to families in Staunton and the surrounding area. We're going to be starting as an elementary school, and then as the students age into it and grow, adding grades as needed. The reason that we chose Memorial Baptist, we had a conversation with the pastors at that church, and they really got the vision for our school, which is exciting. And they've been very generous with when it comes to rent arrangements. We're funding this completely out of our own pocket, and then we don't expect it to be profitable, at least for 4 or 5 more years. So if it weren't for their generosity with location, the school wouldn't be possible. So pending their generosity and your approval of the location, that's really what would make this school a reality. Lastly, I just want to publicly thank the Planning Commission and the city staff for shepherding us through this process and for their time through discussions and such. And we're very grateful for their recommendation for approval of the special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geary. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? All right. Nope. Thank you so much. Right there. Sorry, I was trying to get her attention to the bag. She had left it behind. Do we have any questions for Mr. Hartless?
Sounds like the planning commission's looked through this thoroughly.
All righty then, with no questions, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. This is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about this specific topic on the agenda. We ask that you please give your name, your address, and then keep your remarks to 5 minutes or less. When you reach the 5-minute time limit, I will let you know that your time limit has expired. For our Zoom participants, please raise your hand now if you wish to speak on this particular public hearing. If you raise your hand during the public hearing, you will also be able to raise your hand during this council meeting for other public hearings and matters of the public. And please keep your comments to 5 minutes as well. Once everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity, I will close the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those with their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is for item B only, and you are asked not to speak on any other topic that does not directly relate to this topic. Would anybody like to speak on this? Who's present? Mr. Kessiker, is anybody on the Zoom platform?
Yes, ma'am, but we have no hands raised at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Kessiker. All righty. The public hearing is now closed. I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the council adopt the resolution and approve the special use permit with its conditions as per recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kessiker, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Miss Woods,
Aye.
Miss Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Good luck with your school, Miss Geary. Very happy for you. Okay, moving on to item C, we have another public hearing and a consideration of amendments to Chapter 18.85 H1 Historic Preservation District of Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code. Ms. Beauregard.
So I'm trying to figure out who hasn't been here from community development.
Yeah.
Because the entire staff has been here. And faces we don't usually see, like Linda Nesselrod, who's here this evening.
All right.
And she is the
Mixing it
Historic
up a little bit.
Preservation Coordinator in her role tonight, in addition to being zoning administrator. So welcome,
Thank you.
Linda.
Thank you, Ms. Beauregard. And thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council.
To you.
Yes, I'm here to present the proposed amendments to Chapter 1885 H1 Historic Preservation District of Title 18 zoning. The Staunton Historic Preservation Commission held a work session in October to discuss possible changes to the ordinance. Those changes are including updating definitions, administrative review for certain exterior changes, an exception to guidelines, and updating maintenance provisions. Of those changes, the definitions is to better align the city ordinance with the Federal Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings for reconstruction, rehabilitation, and restoration. Some other items that were outlined in the brief is the administrative processing of applications. Throughout the chapter, small changes are proposed to update how certificates of appropriateness are processed, clarification on treatment types, and updating the responsible person to inspect for conformance with the chapter. There is an exception to the guidelines that was added in. That was something new. When the HPC deems it necessary, this change will grant the commission the availability to deviate from the guidelines when approving a certificate when the proposed alterations do not change the character of the district or the property. An example of that would be the zoning ordinance allows accessory buildings in a side yard, but the guidelines do not. They recommend it to them to be in a rear yard. Well, there's a lot of properties in historic districts where they have 2 front yards. When they have streets on either side, so they don't have a rear yard. So the side yard is the only location. So in that instance, if the guidelines don't recommend it, they can work within that and be able to approve it for a citizen. The biggest thing that I believe there was a change was in regards to administrative review. The current ordinance allows the review of signage to be completed administratively, and what this does, it decreases review times for citizens so that we can do an internal review and they don't have to go before the full commission and have to wait 30 days because the commission only meets once a month. So these additions, that would include screening of mechanical equipment, removal of vinyl or metal siding to expose the original siding, removal of gutters to install metal half-round gutters, replacement of roofing material with in-kind material when the repair exceeds 50% of the roof element. And then it would, as I said, it would reduce the times from a 4-week waiting period to about 10 business days. So that helps out the citizen. The last item was to update a maintenance provision in regards to painting exterior surfaces. At its February 20th, 25 meeting, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on the request. During the meeting, no one spoke in opposition. Action on the item was postponed until the April 24th meeting to provide clarification. But in April, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the amendment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or clarification on any items.
Any questions from council? All righty, there are no questions from council,
Thank you.
but we will open the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is for item C only, and you are asked not to speak on any other topic that does not directly relate to this topic. Would anybody here like to speak on item C? Mr. Kessiker, does anyone have their hands raised?
No, ma'am, we have no hands raised.
Then we will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Airwood,
I move that council adopt the ordinance and approve the amendments as recommended by the Planning Commission.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
And is there any further discussion? Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And thank you, Ms. Nesselrod. All righty, moving on to item D, a third public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to grant an easement for natural gas equipment and facilities across to 2040 West Beverly Street. Ms. Beauregard.
Mr. John Blair, City Attorney, will walk through this item.
Evening, Mr. Blair.
Good evening, Mayor Edwards, Council. Before you tonight, you might remember a few months ago, for those of you who were on council at the time, I explained with the proposed juvenile and domestic relations courthouse, there's a bit of an anachronism in Virginia law that we're going to go through tonight, which is when the Constitution of Virginia was amended in 1902, there was at that time the progressive movement had started in earnest, and there was a feeling that various corporate interests were obtaining public property a little too easily, perhaps maybe some financial incentives and things of that nature were passed. And so in order to stop that practice, the Constitution of Virginia was amended, and there now has to be a franchise process if you're going to give up your rights, such as rights in your public street or on public property, to a private corporation through the use of utilities or other easements. And so just like Dominion needed that easement a few months ago, I mean, it seems a little strange that you're having to go through a franchise process to have electricity extend to the new building. You need to do the same tonight for the natural gas, the Columbia gas line. So before you tonight is simply an easement. And again, pursuant to the Constitution, it can only be for 40 years. That's the limit that a municipality can grant an easement to a private corporation. So you have 40-year easement before you. It will go through the official franchise process. The mayor will call for bids and open bids. And if Columbia Gas is the only bid received, you can vote on it tonight. If you receive multiple bids to put a gas line across the property, you can postpone the hearing. But with that, are there any questions? Again, this is really a gas line easement to serve the courthouse. but it's a little clunky process. So
Do we have a drum roll?
I'll turn it up. Well, you need
Yeah.
to ask for other bids.
All righty, I have received a bid from Columbia Gas of Virginia Incorporated for the easement across city property located at 2040 West Beverly Street. Are there any other bids for this proposed franchise ordinance? I declare the bidding closed for this proposed franchise ordinance. I will open the public hearing for this proposed ordinance. I have to open a public hearing again. I will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak, please approach the podium and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is only for item D. If you wish to speak, please approach the podium. Mr. Kesker, do we have anyone's hands raised on Zoom?
No, ma'am, we have no hands raised.
All righty, then I will close the public hearing. And I will now, oh my goodness. Mr. Blair, how much of this do I need to read?
I think you just need to read the bidder's name.
Oh, that is fabulous. The bidder's name is Columbia Gas of Virginia Incorporated. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the franchise ordinance.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Woods.
I move that City Council adopt a franchise ordinance as presented, granting to Columbia Gas a franchise for an easement to place natural gas equipment and other facilities across city-owned property located at 2040 West Beverly Street, as set forth in the ordinance, and further authorize and direct the city manager to sign a right-of-way agreement with such modifications in final form as approved by the city attorney.
Thank you, Councilor Woods. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Kesker, please call the roll.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Kesker. And thank you, Mr. Blair. And we are now moving on to item E, an update on Gypsy Hill Park Pool House and 2025 pool season. Ms. Beauregard.
So this is not about the new pool house,
Knock the knot.
though I do have news about that the design is complete
Well,
and will
negative.
go to bid on May 19th. So that's good news. So we'll have more information. Hopefully that bid will be within a relatively normal budget that we're expecting. So we're anxious to see what those bids will say. But this is about the current pool house. And we have a plan this summer.
We have a plan.
We have a plan.
We have a plan.
I'm going to let Mr. Chris Tuttle, Parks and Rec Director, walk through this plan and kind of how we're here at
How
this
we
point.
envision. Yeah.
So,
Thank
go
you.
ahead,
Thank you. Good to
Chris.
see everyone again.
Good evening, Mr. Tuttle. Good to
We
see you again.
survived another trip to Betsy Bell earlier. That's always good. So in regards to the pool, we had an annual inspection. We did one last year, had another one this year. This inspection showed some more significant areas of concern. So on completion of the inspection, there are certain areas of the pool house we're not going to be able to use this year. That's the staircase that leads down to the pool deck, the women's restroom, and the patio in front of those stairs that lead down. And I've got pictures as we go along, and I know you all have seen these over and over, but there's the rear staircase. That's significantly different than last year. A lot more damage. The concrete on the top of those stairs as well is starting to deteriorate, so it's unsafe. What we're going to do is block those off as best we can before we open on the 24th this year. That's underneath the women's restroom, and the picture says it all really. So that main reason that the women's restroom is unavailable. In the rear patio, we can still use the section that leads out of the restroom so people can enter the pool through the ramp that's on the side there. So our solutions, and again, it's a work in progress, put it that way. With the men's restroom now will be retitled the women's restroom. We're going to take some of the changing stalls from the current women's restroom and move those over into the men's, which we're doing now. Ticket booth can remain open, handicap ramp will be used to access the deck. We're working on new signage to direct all the traffic flow. So we're looking into options. These are all options. Is to rent an ADA accessible multi-restroom trailer for the season. We had one that we thought was locked up until we called, and it's no longer available. So we're still pursuing that. We've got another option as of this morning. Instead of using the porta-johns that you see in the park, the company that we currently have a contract with has a wedding porta-john, which is a lot nicer with a sink. So that's, if we can't get the multi-use trailer, then we're going to go with those options. And we're going to install temporary hand washing and outdoor rinse stations. I'm sure most of you have already seen the example of what an event trailer would look like. But if we can get one of those and afford it, that's going to be a good option for us. Here in the red circles is where we're either going to locate the wedding portable toilets or a trailer. We've met with Public Works. We can accommodate it with hoses and electricity. They would be pumped 3 times a week. And your lower picture over here is probably an ideal spot with the gentleman standing in the picture that's easily accessible to everyone. We've already ordered these. These are the hand washing stations and an outdoor shower that will mount to the deck for folks to rinse off after they come out of the pool, where they can use it before they go in. So that's the situation we're in. We're going to make it work. It's the condition of the building. It's not, it's out of an abundance of caution on our end. We don't want to take any chances. And I think we can, well, I know we can accommodate the folks that are going to come and we want to keep the pool open. So
Absolutely.
that's where we're at. And we open up in 2 weeks. So hopefully all this will be in place and we're ready to hit the ground running. So any questions?
What's the cost of all those amenities?
Well, the trailer unit that we had until we called and they informed us it was no longer available was
Yeah.
16,500.
For the season, for the whole season.
For the whole season. The ones we're finding now are in between 35 to 50. We can get the wedding portable toilets for what we need to accommodate our crowds for about 14. And I think that may be the direction we're going in.
So that would be.
And like I
what?
said, they're coming to clean. They'll clean 3 times a week and we'll supplement as we need to. But I like the idea of the individual units that have the sink inside.
So the all-in cost of all the things that you described,
Excuse me?
what's the total cost of everything that you just?
Well, if we go with the wedding total, it's just gonna be about 14,000 for everything, the shower, the sink.
Washing stations,
Yep, that's all of it. But if we go the other route with the trailer, even if we can find one, we're looking at 40 and up. So we think we can accommodate by renaming the men's to the women's, putting some changing stations in there. So at least we have that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tuttle, did you say if we can find one or if we can buy one?
If we can find the trailer that we can afford.
Right. Did you happen to compare prices between renting and buying?
I did not. I don't know what one of those units would cost. to
Would
buy.
cost to buy?
Yeah.
Just wonder, because what if this were to come up in other situations where we needed?
I had that ask earlier.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We could certainly use one year round in certain events, special events.
Festivals.
If it were to make sense, but again,
Question is, could we get it?
it's in 2
time?
weeks. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
But I mean, we thought about that too, but we're working on such a short timeline right
Yeah.
now, just to get things up and
Right.
running. And we knew it was important to have running
Right.
water and not just porta
Absolutely.
potties. So, yeah.
But
But
we're 2 weeks away from, pool season
Yeah.
and basically every day for us at the pool is like a special event that you'd have it. I mean, really it is.
Yeah.
We're seeing 600,
Right.
weekends we'll see 600 folks come through the gate.
Yeah.
And we want to have a nice
Wanna have a
clean
good
facility
place.
for them. And we will next year. That's really. So we're excited about that.
Thanks.
That's
So that was
coming.
the good news you were going to tell us.
That's the good, yeah, that's all the news I had
Thanks.
in 2026.
Well, Chris, I'm sorry that you have been dealing with this, but thank you and to Public Works also for,
Well, we got a great staff because
For
they
making
jumped
this
all
happen.
over this and to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
work. And
yeah. I mean,
That's
every
the-
time you go by the pool, it's packed, as you say.
Oh, it
I
is, it
mean,
is. So that includes everyone, park maintenance, guys in the office,
Right.
everybody's, our goal is to get the pool open
Yeah.
and have a good season. So
I just want to thank Chris and his
Yeah,
staff too.
it's
I mean, we
amazing.
had a big meeting at the pool the day after we found out. I mean, we must have 10
Mhm.
people talking about and
Yeah.
walking around trying to figure out how we're going to do this because this pool is so important to the community.
Mhm.
And we just had to
Yeah.
figure it out. So yeah,
Thank
Chris,
you.
your team has been amazing.
thank you.
So
I'll
thank
pass
you
that
so
on. I
much.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I really do. Thank
We're
you.
looking forward to it. We'll
That
make
was
it
just a
work.
hurry up offense, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, we'll make
Or
it work.
defense, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, either one.
Thank you, Mr. Todd.
Thank you.
Looking forward to another pool season.
Thank you.
All righty. All righty. Well, that brings us to matters from the city manager.
Sure, I just have one thing I'd like to announce. Speaking of Gypsy Hill Park, tomorrow at Gypsy Hill Park Gym from 10 to 1 is Kids Matter Day. And that is a chance for kids and families to learn about local resources. So that's a really neat day. So that everybody can come out and experience that. So 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms.
I'm
Barbara.
sorry, Saturday.
I was gonna say.
I don't know what day of the week it is. Thank you. Saturday.
okay. Every day's a Monday this week.
Don't show up tomorrow at 10.
Every day's a Monday this
It is,
week.
feels like every day's, so yes, sorry, Saturday. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Beauregard. All right, this moves us to the portion of the meeting called Matters from the Public. This is a part of City Council's agenda entitled Matters from the Public. It's a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of the Staunton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online on the City of Staunton's web page. You are asked to familiarize yourself with those rules before commenting. Please come to the podium or begin your call. Identify yourself and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. As a reminder, this is a time for council to listen. If you would like an answer to a question or a follow-up to your comment, please speak with the city manager, Leslie Beauregard, after the meeting. Please approach the podium if you would like to speak. It matters from the public. Mr. Kessiker, do we have any hands raised?
No, ma'am, we have no hands raised at the moment.
Well, I am going to call the meeting of Staunton City Council adjourned. All righty. Well.